This is the origin, this is history. Jesus, there are some kernel of truth in Jesus. There are no kernel of truths in Christians after him. The Christians, they destroyed his philosophy. It always happens like this. Sufism and Islam. Now Islam, there is basically nothing there, but in Sufism, there is basically some kernel of truth. And so a great thinker can say something positive about anything here. This is how I understand myself, because I extract the kernel of truths that I think are kernel of truths, and then I create myself here. The kernel of truth for me with Jesus is the temple, the inner temple. Christians don't understand Jesus. That's why I always say that I am more of a Christian than Christians, and I'm more of a Sufi than Sufists, and I'm more of a Buddhist than Buddhists. I'm also more of a rationalist than rationalists. I'm also more of a spiritual person than religious people. And I never ever avoid anything in life. I've questioned everything in life. I've boiled it all down to kernel of truths in some people. There are some different degrees of kernel of truths. The greats will have 99.9%, greatness, and they will have some error in them. But that is what greatness means. In DNA, there is some error in it, but otherwise it is great. In the mainstream, you have most people of the opposite, all right? 99.9% of people are wrong, and 0.1% is some kernel of truth in it, all right? The same with Sufism. From Islam, there is some kernel of truth in Islam that comes from Sufism, which is a small part. That truth comes from the evolution of man. So there is some truth in Islam. There are some things that I, as a thinker, can accept in Islam. That is what a great thinker does. He doesn't just outright throw away all of it. He takes what is good and discards everything else. But you discard almost everything and you create something new from this, all right? You take the kernel of truths from all of them, and then you boil it down to your own philosophy, all right? I'm here, health. Mitkovski, health. This, I cannot be wrong because my philosophy is based on health. If I am wrong, then life is wrong. And can life be wrong? No, it cannot be wrong, otherwise it wouldn't exist. Life cannot be wrong, otherwise you might as well end life. And I am all about life, and I've taken the conclusions further and further and further. Those against life, I am against those people. I'm waging war against people who are against life. They can be pessimists, they can be antinatalists, they can be killers, they can be psychopaths, all of them. I don't care that it's not their fault that they were born psychopaths. Doesn't matter. They're against life. They're against life, then I'm against them. I'm against anyone who would save a dog from drowning rather than the person. That is who I'm against. I am discriminate. Yes, I am discriminate. You always have to discriminate. Otherwise, you can't create something. You will always be preserved and you will never take a risk and you will never get anywhere and you won't be anyone at all. If you never say anything, if you never do anything, you never become anything. I like the inner temple in Jesus. I like the heart, the inner heart in Sufism. In some sense, it's not 100% hate here because there is some kernel of truth here, but it's all thanks to the origin. Otherwise, I would hate this history here. But thanks to the origin, I can like some kernel of truths within it, without their interpretation of the origin. The same goes here, but it's switched. I love Hitchens, a lot of stuff with Hitchens, his criticism of dogmatic religions, but I don't agree with his doubt thing. I don't agree with doubting everything. We cannot doubt health. He didn't have great health. He died of cancer, smoking and drinking whiskey. Life is about the experience as well, not just reflecting and thinking. Sam Harris. I love Sam Harris. Almost everything is correct, what this guy says. But he has an obsession with conversation. The conversation has become his God. The conversation has become his God. I understand it because this is his bread. This is what he lives on. But that doesn't matter. It's still wrong. It's still wrong. The conversation doesn't matter. The world doesn't go around with conversations. Advancement in technology, advancement in philosophy, advancement in human, endeavors, that is what advances humanity, all right? Not the conversation, not the mind games, not the intellectualism, not going too deeply into the tools. We're only going to the tools here. No, we gotta go and create. We gotta create a new tool, a new something, the origin. With Dawkins, for example, he avoids the meaning of life, for example. Avoiding, questions of suicide or questions like Camus mentioned. That is why Camus is great. He almost overrides his smoking by asking the ultimate question in life. That is why Camus is great. He created that question, is it worth living or dying? That is the ultimate thing. And my answer is, it is worth it. That is my answer. And you can't question this answer, because if you question my answer, then you might as well kill yourself. We got someone else here, Friedrich Nietzsche. He still was too attached to institutions. He still saw, these old institutions, education, as a great thing. But today we know that this dinosaur is dead. This doesn't work anymore. This is as dead as the conversation and doubting everything and never asking the meaning of life. Nietzsche is correct about almost everything. There is not much I can criticize with Nietzsche, but as you can see, as a great, you still always question every single thing that he says, so that I can extract myself and understand what I don't like here. And so I move away from this, I move away from all of these, and I create myself. And that is how you extract yourself from the greats, but also from everything else, the mainstream, and you become yourself. You become yourself. Extract yourself from the mainstream, from the contrarians, become the third stream, extract all the kernel of truths within everything, and take that, apply it, absorb it, take that within you, and create something new. That is how you are a great philosopher, a great thinker, but anything else as well. And you do this with everything. Even if it comes to business, you extract from the greats, you extract from the mainstream, the basics, and you create your own strategy, your own everything, in sales, in everything. This comes down to everything. Even in training, you create your own training routine, your own rhythm of life. Everything will be your own rhythm of life. That is how you become the greatest. That is how you become the philosopher. That is how you become the anti-everything, so that you extract yourself and become something instead of everything. If you are in the mainstream, you're just part of the mainstream and no one will notice you, you will be nothing. But if you extract yourself from the mainstream, you become something. People will notice this beautiful little river there, and people will want to drink from that water. That is how it works. That is how it always worked. The originators are always the greatest. The followers are always the wrong. The same with Buddhists. You have Buddha and Buddhists. These people are monks, that are in a uniform. They don't understand even his philosophy because he talked about non-attachment, detachment, the no self. So they don't even understand what they're following. Buddha had no attachment. He didn't have an orange uniform. I agree with this with Buddha, but I don't agree with the no self. There is still some truth to self and a utilization to self. We don't kill the tool, we love the tool. We use the tool. The same with every other tool in life. Money, training, reading, mindsets, all of these things, it's the same thing.